second edition of our Nigerian Watch online seminar. Today we'll be talking about, last month was on the end SARS protest, 1 year after the SARS protest. Today we're going to have a very interesting topic, and it will be hosted by Dr. Victor Eze. But before he comes on board, I want to quickly share what we do in Nigerian Watch, and this will also help, and alongside the methodology, this will also help us to have a better understanding of the second presentation. Let me quickly go through what we do here in Nigerian Watch. Nigerian Watch is an online data, and we research on violent death in Nigeria. What we do as Nigerian Watch, we are online data compiling violent death in Nigeria since 2006. Initially, it was founded by the DFID British Council through the NSRP project. Currently, we have an MOU with the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, Risk and Co Nigeria, and Managing Conflicts in Nigeria. Under the British Council. We are housed by the Institute of French Affairs in the University of Ibadan since 1990, and is a project that consists of 3 full Nigerian researchers backed up by a team of French and Nigerian social scientists. The projects, these are the people working in the team, and it's being housed by the Institute of African Studies in the University of Ibadan. This is the work station where we meet, where we work and collect the data. Our mission is to compile and monitor data on violence Okay. Okay, sorry, that's Nigeria for you, and sorry for that. Just
Hello, sorry, I don't know if you can hear us. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't
Yes,
hear
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Because I think from Biola's device, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
So maybe if she can try to do her speech from Victor's device or Vitus one, because we can really not hear anything. And maybe if you have any possibility of like connecting to another network, maybe via hotspot or I don't know. Sorry about that. The network is quite bad these days.
Sorry, it's Nigeria and the network system. Hello, can you hear me, everyone? Can you hear me? Yeah. Sorry, Nigeria and the network system we are going through here in the country. So I won't be able to share the screen because of the network issue. So how do we manage this data? We read 10 daily newspaper and we extract violent death from this 10 daily newspaper. And in the case of the extraction, we kind of indicate what each incident stands for. Like with the red pen, it indicates the victim and the number of people that got involved in the incident. With the blue pen indicates the location, the state, the local government, the location. With the green pen, it indicates the date of the incident of the event, while the black pen indicates the protagonist. There has been so many arguments about the methodology of Nigerian Watch data, which is very paramount. The quantification of violence has not occupied the front burner in research in Nigeria. One of the reasons for such is the crime statistics by the police and other government agencies. They are either unavailable or too restrictive or not reliable. Hence, the Nigerian Watch data systematically track various data violence across Nigeria to address this issue. And to the bit to explore the trend of pattern of later violence in the country, Nigerian Watch data have a little limitation based on the engagement, the form of engagement, based on probably the reportage, if it's on the report or over report and the like. But so far, Nigerian database has one of the best methodology in researching violent death in Nigeria. In Nigerian Watch data, the word police includes MOPO, SARS, while Army includes Navy, Air Force, and the like. Like I told you earlier, the methodology is so rich. Now let's quickly go through the data entry. We have data entry. We code raw data into the parameters like courses, actors, location. I wish I could share the screen and it would have really helped us to see how this data, the form it comes from in the data. So with this, we're able to get coded data that researchers can come in and use at any time it's needed. Oh, now let's quickly go through Nigerian Watch data. Who can access the data? How to access the data? How does the data look like? How to export data and how to use Nigerian Watch data beyond basic features. Who can access the data? Basic features are public and everyone can access the data and do a basic search through www.nigerianwatch.org. To access more advanced features, researchers can obtain a password from the Nigerian Watch webmaster. Just contact the Nigerian Watch coordinator here in Ibadan, and more details about how to further research will be given on to you. With Nigerian Watch, we can get trend of things in Nigeria, fatality and the like. We can help to get map, cartographic representation of data, and through the Nigerian Watch data, there has been research has brought about books, several books, newsletter, report, journals, articles have been produced from Nigerian Watch data. Area cover include Boko Haram incidents, car accidents, sorcery, domestic violence, ritual killing, and the like. The first Nigerian academic article was on victim of target of the Boko Haram crisis, civilian combat, Christian, Muslim, etc. It is a religious and body count in Boko Haram crisis too, edited in one of Perot's book with Shrine, another book. So this research has produced so many books for researchers to use in their research work. Academic materials, like one of those academic materials produced from this research work is Violence in Nigeria, a qualitative and quantitative analysis by African Studies Center, ASC. And there has been also 10 myths about violence in Nigeria. So other possible scientific uses include gender studies, land conflict, oil issues, militancy, piracy, and the like. What can we do together? Yeah. We can offer training sections on how to use Nigerian Watch data, help generate statistical and trend analysis to support your work, be it a researcher, and we can also help you to generate support trends and analysis about violence in Nigeria. Partner with organizations to develop focused research on the particular subject and deliver specific data analysis. Or IFRA-Nigeria is also a partner with Nigerian Watch, is an interdisciplinary network of research specialized in West Africa. Thank you so much for being part of this seminar. I also want to, the second part of this seminar, Dr. Victor Eze will take us on the topic we have for today. Thank you so much. Dr. Victor Eze, you are welcome. Please, can you? Yes.
Okay, thank you for the first part of the presentation. I will take up the second part of the presentation, which is actually the main notes we have today. We have the title, Separatist Movements in the Southeast, Causes and Trends. So I would like to share my screen so that we can all see that. Okay, separatist movements in the Southeast, causes and trends. Introduction. Separatist movement is the advocacy or clamor for cultural, ethnic, tribal, religious, racial, governmental, or gender separation from larger group. In the context of the separatist movement refers to this for a full political separation of a secession state from a rump state. Separatist movement also refers to a situation whereby various groups agitate to carve out their own nationality from a nation. According to Senator Enyinaya Abaribe, there are about 30 separatist, or rather secessionist groups in the Southeast. Vanguard, October 6, 2021. Some of them are Movement for the Actualization of Biafra, MASOB, Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB, We also have the National Guard. We have the customary government of indigenous people of Biafra. We have Biafra de facto customary government, etc. However, only two of these groups are well known, MASOB and IPOB. Biafra secessionism is somewhat attributable to Nigerian, to the Nigerian police abuses and arbitrary arrests in the Southeast. According to Eze and McLean, 2021. The current face of the separatist movement is IPOB, which established the ESN, or Eastern Security Network, in December 2020 as a reaction to the perception among the people of the region that they are targeted by herders who they accuse of grazing on farmlands and committing crimes against local residents. The movement has morphed into a paramilitary unit with broader functions. It has gone more violent since the extraordinary rendition of Anamb in June 2021. Statement of the problem. Very few studies have presented facts and body counts in the investigation of the activities of separatist movements in the Southeast Nigeria. This study aims at presenting the hard facts and fatalities underlining the separatist movement in the region with a view to elucidating the causes and trends of the movement. The facts and figures are drawn from the Nigeria Watch database, which has been monitoring lethal violence since 2006. The research questions that will be the focus of this presentation will be: number one, to find out the possible causes of the separatist movement in the Southeast Nigeria. The second one is how many agitators are killed by security operatives in the Southeast Nigeria pre-ESN era. Pre-ESN era refers to before the formation of the Eastern Security Network by IPOB. The third question is how many security operatives were killed by the separatists in the Southeast Nigeria pre-ESN era. The fourth question is how many agitators have been killed by the security operatives in the Southeast Nigeria since the ESN era. The fifth question is how many security operatives have been killed by the agitators in the Southeast Nigeria since the ESN era. And then the sixth question is how many civilians were killed by both the agitators and the security operatives since 2006 till date. The seventh question is what are the trends of separatist movement in the Southeast Nigeria? So results and discussion of findings. The methodology already has been captured by my colleague who gave us elaborate discussion on the methodology. So we go straight to the results and discussion of findings. The first one, the possible causes of separatist movements in the Southeast Nigeria. Number one, we know about the apparent injustice meted out against the people of the region in terms of political, socioeconomic, and infrastructural engagements, as captured by John Campbell, erstwhile United States Ambassador, and Nolan Quinn in their work for the Council on Foreign Relations on August 3rd, 2021. The second point is the maiming of agitators or separatists by security operatives. The third one is dehumanization of citizens by security operatives. And then the fourth one, which directly pivots into the Nigeria Watch database, is we have 148 incidents which are separatist movement related, as captured in the Nigeria Watch database. And these incidents indicate that 1,400 people have lost their lives in the region. This number captures both the agitators, that's the separatists, the civilians, and then security operatives. However, majority of the incidents that led to the deaths were encounters between security operatives and agitators. The next objective, looking at fatalities from separatist movements in general. So we have a breakdown. In this graph, we have a capture of the pre-ESN era, because it's somewhat assumed that pre-ESN era, the separatists were not fully violent. They've not gone fully violent as we are seeing at the moment. So pre-ESN era, that's from 2006, which the database can capture from 2006 till November 2020, you can see that in Abia State, the pre-ESN era, we had 213 deaths, 213 fatalities emanating from separatist movement related activities. These deaths encapsulates both the death of civilians, the death of the separatists themselves, and then the death of security operatives. And then you can also see that after the formation of the ESN era, after the formation of the ESN, that's in the ESN era in Abia State, we've had 50 deaths. In all, we've had 263 deaths in Abia State. And then if you come to Anambra, which somewhat has a very large number, much of which is attributable to some of the killings by the DSS. One of the killing which we captured in database where people were killed extrajudicially and their bodies thrown into Ezu River. So we have a whole lot of that. If you look at 826 deaths emanating from the pre-ESN era of the separatist movement activities, and in the ESN era, we have 65 deaths, and in all, we have 891 fatalities from Anambra State in all, relating to the separatist movement. And then in Ebonyi State, pre-ESN era, we had 7 fatalities. In the ESN era, we have 13 fatalities, and in all, 20 fatalities emanating from separatist movement activities. In Enugu State, 20 deaths for the pre-ESN era, 11 deaths in the ESN era that is still ongoing, and then 31 deaths in all. In Imo State, 23 deaths were recorded in the pre-ESN era, that's from 2006 till date, till November 2020, and then from December 2020 till date, we've had 172 deaths, and then in all, we've registered 195 deaths in Imo State in relation to the separatist movement. So if we go to the next objective, the number of separatists killed by security operatives in the Southeast Nigeria pre-ESN era, 993 separatists have been killed by security operatives in the pre-ESN era, before the formation of ESN era. And you can see that, just like I mentioned in the prior slide, that Anambra State has taken a whole lot of the fatalities, 782 deaths of separatists who were mainly extrajudicially murdered or killed, the army, the DSS, and even sometimes the state vigilante services. And if we go further, the number of security operatives killed by the separatists in Southeast Nigeria pre-ESN era. In Anambra State, we had 10 security operatives killed pre-ESN era, 1 in Abia State, 0 in Ebonyi State, 0 in Imo State, and 2 in Enugu State. And then let's look at the number of separatists who have been killed by security operatives since the ESN came into play. In all, 159 separatists have been killed in the various 5 states in the Southeast. Imo State has the highest chunk. If we recall that it was in Imo State that we had even prison break, and in Imo State, we have a very peculiar political atmosphere that has been resulting to a lot of clamor and wrangling by the various parties involved. So hundreds separatists have been killed in Imo State since the ESN era from November 2020 till date, 0 in Enugu State, 5 in Ebonyi State, 16 in Anambra State, and 38 in Abia State. So Imo State is registering the highest number of separatists killed since the emanation of, or the creation of ESN by security operatives, the killing of ESN members, of separatist members by security operatives. So now let's look at this objective too. This other objective, security operatives killed by separatists in Southeast Nigeria since the ESN era. 96 security operatives comprising of both the army, the police, and the DSS have been killed since the ESN era. And in Abia State, we've had 17 deaths. In Anambra State, 28 security operatives. In Ebonyi State, 2. In Enugu State, 10. And then in Imo State, 39. If we go to the next slide, civilians, because in the course of this whole thing, civilians have also been caught in the fire. Civilians killed by separatists and security operatives in the Southeast Nigeria. We sort of did a comparison here. In Abia State, in all, 96 civilians have been killed by the separatists and 29 by security operatives. Most of the civilians who have been killed by the separatists are as a result of, 1, people who don't obey their sit-at-home orders, 2, people who are seen as overly exposed to the government of the day in Nigeria. The next one is also people whom they feel are somewhat a threat to them, that's to the separatists. So they go after such people. So in Abia State, we've had 38 deaths of civilians, those who were killed by the separatists, and then 1 by security operatives. And then in Anambra State, we've had 27 people killed by the separatists and 5 by security operatives. In Ebonyi, 6 killed by the separatists, none killed by security operatives, none killed by the separatists, and none killed by security operatives in Enugu State. In Imo State, we've had 25 killed by the separatists, and in Imo State, 23 civilians killed by security operatives. So the separatists killed by separatists in the South, that's another dimension, because we've also had a situation whereby separatists were, they had internal wranglings and all that. 8 members of MASOB, including 1 factional leader, Arinze Ojoko, were killed during intra-group crisis in Imo State. A faction loyal to the leader of the group, Ralph Wazurike, attacked another faction in a bid to take full control of the operational office. And then another dimension is separatists killed by civilians in the Southeast. In Imo State, we've had a situation whereby 1 separatist was killed while he was trying to enforce the sit-at-home order. So an angry mob killed him. Furthermore, if you look at all these, the trends of the separatist movement in the Southeast, you can see that the current separatist movement started by MASOB, headed by Chief Ralph Wazurike since 1999. MASOB agitates, that's their ideology, they agitate for a republic of Biafra comprising of the Southeast and South-South region of Nigeria through non-violence means. Through Ralph, though Ralph Wazurike stated that the Niger Deltas can have their own republic afterwards. The second point is that IPOB came into the agitation after the arrest of Anamb on October 14, 2015 by the SSS. IPOB aims to establish an independent state of Biafra in the Southeast Nigeria through a referendum. Outlawed by the federal government in 2007, IPOB draws on memories of an independent Biafra experienced in the 1967 to 70 Nigerian Civil War. In December 2020, IPOB formed the ESN to protect the people of the region from what it termed foreign incursion. The third point is also, since late 2020, separatist groups such as Biafra National Guard, Biafra Customary Government, and other groups have been rearing up. The fourth point is that there are killings of separatists by security operatives, constituting of the police, disbanded SARS, the army, the state security services, and vigilance groups, like we experienced in Anambra State at a point. Some MASOB members were killed by a vigilance group in Anambra State. And then the fifth point is that separatist groups also raise police stations, as we witness currently. They raise police stations, attack security posts and checkpoints, There are also speculations and accusations as to who are the perpetrators of some of the incidents of attacking security operatives and destroying of security posts. The use of the term unknown gunmen comes into the trend. There are also intra-killings among separatist groups as members, as I captured before, MASOB members clashed within themselves twice, and those clashes led to the killing of 8 members of the group. Civilians are also killed by separatists and security operatives, because sometimes civilians are caught in a crossfire between separatists and security operatives, and also civilians are killed by separatists who feel that civilians are not obeying their orders, or that civilians are overly exposed to the government of the day. So in all, these are the trends of the current separatist movements in the Southeast Nigeria. So thank you for listening, and I await your questions and contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Eze, for that wonderful presentation. It was actually an interesting presentation. Now we want to await any questions, any comments. Let's start with comments, then we'll go to questions. You know, this separatist movement in the Southeast, the cause and the trend is a very interesting topic. Dr.
Okay, Prof. Maganton is on.
Yes. Sorry, I can't hear you. Maybe you should switch off your mic, because Victoria, because I can't hear you.
Contribution for the question. Please, any question?
All right. Okay, yes, better you mute. Yes. I still have some strange noise. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. That's the problem. I could hear you, but now I can't hear. You. Anyway, let me frame.
So we can hear you.
All right, good enough. All right, I can hear you, Vitus.
Okay.
So maybe something is wrong with the computer of Victoria. I don't know. Anyway, so I have 3 questions. Thanks a lot for this very interesting presentation. My first question is to do with IPOB and MASOB. Why do you think IPOB became more popular in a way than MASOB? I remember when we started the Nigeria Watch database in June 2006, there was a huge repression of some MASOB demonstrations, some like 600 killings in Onitsha. You know, it was a big thing. And your graphs are showing that indeed most of the casualties related to separatist movement in the Southeast were pre-IPOB, sort of. So I was wondering, why is IPOB now more popular than MASOB? Is it, for instance, because MASOB got, in a way, involved in too many internal fighting, or they were so much repressed that they disappeared? Or, I mean, what would be your guess on that? So that's my first question. My second question is to do with the recent elections in Anambra State. At the last moment, IPOB decided to stop boycotting, calling for the boycott of the elections. And I was wondering why. Do you think there was any deal between the local ruling class and IPOB this has been seen before in the Niger Delta, for instance, when there was the man before the amnesty in 2009. There were some shady deals between the rebels, so-called rebels, and the militants and the ruling class. Do you think these links also exist with, I don't know, Anambra State, for instance? And my third question, and I'll stop here, you see I have a lot of questions. I was wondering, why is Anambra more targeted? Is it because there is more crime and more money in Anambra, maybe? And then it means that if you have more crime, you have more self-defense units, so more capacity to mobilize people to get involved in separatist movements. I mean, why is Anambra more affected by separatism when it comes to casualties as compared to Imo or Ebony or, you know, other states? So these are my three questions. Thanks.
Okay, I will answer the question by saying that MASOB originally they are.
Sorry, there is a lot of reverberation. I can't hear you properly. I don't know why.
Okay, in the first place, okay, I want to say that IPOB became more popular than MASOB because in the first place, the ideology of MASOB is that they are following the non-violence means like Gandhi did. And note that when MASOB came out, that was during the time of Obasanjo, and the typical President Obasanjo that we all know wouldn't want any uprising in his government. He wouldn't want any, he didn't tolerate any much of protest or riot in any form. Nigeria was just returning to democracy, and MASOB came up through the ideology of Ralph Wazirike. And a lot of the deaths that MASOB recorded was as a result of extrajudicial killing. Most of the MASOB members were picked and killed extrajudicially. They were picked and killed. Well, that's when, if you look back, you will see that most of the deaths recorded were the bodies of these guys, these MASOB members that were found in Ezu River. Some of them were kidnapped and murdered by the state, by the security operatives. So that accounted for how many of MASOB members were quelled. And then also their leader, Ralph Wazirike, went to jail, I think twice. He went to jail, and I think I'm not so sure, he had some negotiations with the government. And so he came out and he decided to refocus MASOB in a way that the non-violent philosophy of the group will really be at the front burner. They won't be seen primarily as a group that champions violence and wants to bring down the government of the day in a violent way. They wanted to go about activities in a more peaceful way. And then when IPOB came in with Anamb, the leader of the group actually feels that MASOB actually, IPOB is a splinter group from MASOB. So the leader of the group feels that And MASSOB is not doing enough by its calm and cool way of going about the agitation. So IPOB is taking the front place now because the ideology of the group is we want to get it done now. And so that is making the group, and because a whole lot of people are beleaguered by the socioeconomic problem, infrastructural malfeasance, and other things that are beleaguering the region. So people are now like, okay, since this group, people are anchoring with the group because they feel that this group wants to get this separatist thing done and dusted. So that's why IPOB, in a sense, is taking the lead, and people are more sympathetic. People from the region are more sympathetic with the cause of IPOB than MASSOB, and that is what is placing the group ahead of MASSOB. And it appears as if MASSOB is getting to the back burner while IPOB is getting to the front burner. And then the Anambra election, the second question, why did IPOB call off the boycott?
I'm afraid I can't hear you any longer. No sound.
Sorry for the breaky transmission. And then we're trying to answer the question, why did IPOB call up the boycott of Anambra election? So IPOB itself, the group is made up of human beings. So they saw that a couple of people were trying to hijack the election using the name of IPOB and then the term unknown gunmen. So a couple of stakeholders interfaced with the group, and the group saw a reason to drop their call for a boycott. And that's even, there's some sort of made people who were trying to perpetrate violence during the election, they cut them short. And people were like, wow. So during the election, people expected violence, and there was no violence because IPOB agreed that they won't engage in any violence, so that people who were trying to, stay behind IPOB to perpetrate such violence will find a reason to go on with their violent act. So that's one of the reasons. And there were negotiations, because I also called down is to find out what exactly happened. There were negotiations, and IPOB too found a reason to call off the boycott as done by their spokesperson, Ima Powerful. The third question is, why is Anambra more targeted? In the Southeast, Anambra is more or less like the heart of the Southeast, with more burgeoning businesses and structures and all that. So most things that are done in the Southeast, if Anambra is not brought into the picture, somewhat it appears as if such an agenda or such a program is not viewed in a real sense of it. So that's one of the reasons why Anambra is usually targeted when these things come up to play. So the separatist movement is also part of it, and a couple of other things. So Anambra State is more or less like the heartbeat of the Southeast. I don't know whether anybody still has questions.
Yes. Population. Sorry, please. In the Southeast, Anambra State has the highest population. So considering the number of people that live in the state, so it's actually expected that more people will be interested in whatever happens in it. And secondly, the level of education actually impacts on the separatist activities in the state. So when we look at the membership of IPOB and then other pro-Biafra groups, we can actually say that majority of them are either illiterate or semi-literate population. So the level of the education is there, then the population is there. So it's not really surprised that the state is recording the highest fatalities when you compare it to other states in the zone. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Can you go ahead to ask the question?
Good afternoon. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. My question is, can you kindly shed more light on the membership drive, the nature of membership drive of IPOB and MASOP? You just make reference to the fact that majorly the downtrodden constitutes the bulk of their members. Do we have an idea about the statistics of the members of IPOB? And the second one is that you said there are about 30 separatist groups in the Southeast. I don't know if your group can, tell us some of the names of these groups. Maybe you have done some investigation and you have ideas. Subsequently, you can publish it or give us the opportunity of being so that we can know who, what are the names of this group. And the third question is that since the designation or the declaration of IPOB in 2017, yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I don't have the names of the 30 separatist groups or more than 30 separatist groups, but I know that the most prominent ones are MASOB and IPOB. Then we've had instances where people give themselves various names, either through the videos they release and all that. We've had IFRA customary. Okay, we've had the Biafra customary government, the Biafra de facto government, and a whole lot of names. So we are still tracking to get the names of these groups. But what I quoted about the 30 separatist group was what Senator Abaribe said, which was captured in the Vanguard newspaper recently. And we also know that a couple of other people cashing on this agitation, people that are not even separatists, they're cashing on this agitation to foment trouble and to create chaos in the region. Thank you.
The last question is, from your investigation, since the declaration of IPOB as a terrorist group in 2017, have we witnessed a slowdown of violence and fatality?
You won't say that there have witnessed a slowdown on violence because the security operatives are coming harder on the separatist groups, not just IPOB, separatist groups, whether Biafran National Government, whether IPOB, whether MASOB, and that is also, resulting in the spike in fatalities. And also the separatist groups themselves are also evolving themselves in a way that they want to take an upper hand in the fight. And we've seen the killing of security operatives, the killing of civilians, and a whole lot of that. So it's not coming down, it's going up. And also another reason is also it's pivoted on the general injustice, which is felt by a couple of people in the region, and that is driving the agitation mainly. Because right from the Civil War till date, I don't think there has been any specific program that tends to pacify in a way the people of the region or people who feel that they were somewhat to change, somewhat spiraling and helping in like ingredients that make the agitation to continue to thrive. You get my answer, Jibrin?
Yeah, yes. Just the last question, please. I'm sorry. Would you want to say that, would you want to relate poverty and education as factors to consider in the analysis of separatist agitation in the Southeast?
Okay, let me take it from education. Just like my colleague mentioned, that education, most of these agitators, especially those who are very violent, they are more or less, if you look at their demography, you will see that their educational level or qualification many of them are illiterate. And if you take it from the angle of the fact that an educated person will reason in a way that is somewhat different from an uneducated person, they may be clamoring for a particular cause. In the Southeast, you have both educated and uneducated people who want the Biafran thing to come, but the difference is how each go about that. While the educated person may want to follow it in a non-violent way, like the way of the MASOB ideology, then the uneducated person may want it now, and that may result to some level of violence. That's on the aspect of education. Then poverty as a driving factor could be seen from the angle of the general injustice that is felt in the region, and not just the region, in Nigeria generally. Even when you look at other forms of crime, you see that many of them are thriving as a result of factors like poverty and all that drive them and serve as ingredient or serve as fuel that ignite them, make them more important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, Tupu can come on here.
Okay, thank you so very much for the wonderful presentation. I just have two questions to ask. One is whether you have disaggregated the data of victims in terms of gender and maybe age distribution, because that will help characterize the deaths to the extent that we know that some females were victims, including those in the uniformed services. So we would want to know if you were able to do that. And then my second question is there the possibility that you came across some form of external intervention or motivation for the agitation? Because we have been inundated with videos of demonstrations in many cities of the world in support of some of these separatist movements. Could there be an external, extraterritorial dimension to the agitation? Thank you.
On the gender disaggregation, most times our database, we try to disaggregate our data in terms of the men and the women, children and adults, as the case may be. But now, in the case of the separatist movement, what I presented, I've not done that. We can still go back and do that. But based on the way we source our data, we may not be able to come up with 100% disaggregation of the victims of the separatist movement, but we can do something. That's one. That's an answer to your to what you asked for. And then you're talking about foreign influence. Foreign influence, generally, we know that by what we read and all that, going beyond what we have on our database, by what we read, if you look at the fact that even the leader of IPOB was at a point before he was extraordinarily conditioned back to Nigeria, if you look at the fact that he was mainly abroad, and he was mainly abroad when he left, or when he escaped after he was given a bail. If you look at the fact that he was mainly abroad, you know that also gives an angle to the international aspect of the agitation. And there is a clamor by the group to get international support from various countries of the world. That's also an aspect. And from what we see, videos and all that, the celebration of the groups, most times when the group has their days of celebrations and all that, see such celebrations being done worldwide in several countries, several cities of the world. So there is an international aspect to the agitation. And then when you look at the backyard of Nigeria, when you look at Cameroon, the Cameroonian angle, you see the Amazonians. So sometimes the Amazonians and the Biafran separatist agitators are also separatists. They're also having some level of collaboration. And in fact, if you go online and you Google IPOB or you Google Biafra movement, most times you see the aspect of the Biafrans, the Biafran separatists having a collaboration with the Amazonians. So all that gives international perspective to the agitation. Thank you. Okay, see me at Abaro.
Yes, thank you so much for that clarity and of course a wonderful presentation. I just want to ask, you know, over the years you've been listening to different reports coming in and people are saying different things at different times. And majority of what is being said is that the separatists are actually not interested in leaving Nigeria. But that what they actually want, what they are pushing for is the recognition from other parts of the country for them to be president of the country. I don't know if from your experience with what you've been reporting, what you've been seeing so far, whether that is true or they just want to leave Nigeria.
Okay, so far, if you talk about, if you look at the recent agitation by IPOB, you will know that many of the people who are involved in that separatist movement, they really don't want, they will tell you that they really don't want, most times they go to the extreme. They will tell you they don't really want the presidency of Nigeria, that what they want is conduct a referendum and they vote to leave Nigeria. They want a state of their own. But the problem is when people who are very educated look at it, because to me, when you look at it generally, you would see that some of these guys want to, even when their quest is given to them, will the region be led by enlightened minds, people that would want to do things in a violent way? And so for me, they are not really seeking for the presidency in a sense. What they are looking for, they want a state of their own. It's some level of a nostalgia that is emanating from what is left from the Biafran War. So there is still that nostalgia that people want a state of our own, But the fear is if they are given a state of their own, will it be like South Sudan that got their own state and then another level of war crept in? So it's not just about the presidency. Most of the people, especially the people on the streets, they mean business and they want a state of their own. So that's my answer to your question. Simeon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions or contributions?
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Wonderful presentation. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, really helpful. The topic, separatist movement in the Southeast, cost and trend. Thank you everyone for joining this presentation. I want to really thank Professor Macansper for your contribution and joining this presentation. And everyone present, really appreciate you. Thank you. Also want to quickly remind you that next month, come January 20th, 2022, there's going to be a beautiful presentation by Vitus Ukoji, and he would like to make us understand that so many things have been said about Mba months, especially